They answered on the second ring. I asked what time dinner was, light, careful. There was a pause, then my mother said it, amused, as if reading a line aloud. Laughter spilled through the phone, layered, familiar. Someone clinked a glass. I stood in my kitchen holding a wrapped gift, heat off to save money, coat still on. No one corrected her. No one asked where I was. I said nothing. I ended the call. The silence after felt louder than the room. Outside, snow kept falling. Inside, I learned how easily a family can decide you are optional today. I had planned the call so it wouldn't sound needy. Just a check-in. Holidays turn schedules strange, my mother liked to say. I stood by the window while the phone rang, watching a neighbor shovel a narrow path. When the laughter came through, it wasn't cruel. That made it worse. It was casual, comfortable, like everyone was already settled. I set the gift on the counter and sat down. The apartment was quiet in the way rentals get when you don't decorate. I told myself there must have been a mix-up. I waited. No follow-up call came. Authority in my family rarely announced itself. It let things happen and then treated the result as natural. Growing up, plans were flexible for some of us and fixed for others. My sister's schedule determined holidays. Mine filled the gaps. If she arrived late, we waited. If I did, dinner moved on. My parents called it practicality. Someone had to be easy. I learned early that being easy meant being forgettable. I drove to the diner because it was open and bright. The waitress wished me a Merry Christmas without looking at me, practiced and kind. I ordered soup and coffee and sat where I could see the door. Families came in flushed from the cold, shedding coats, laughing. I ate slowly and watched them arrange themselves. No one looked back. When I paid, I tipped too much. I wanted to leave something behind that said I had been there. Outside, the street was slick. I sat in the car until my hands warmed on the steering wheel. I did not cry. I felt emptied, like a room after guests leave. Later that night, messages arrived. A photo of the table. A caption about tradition. No apology. My mother texted a heart. My sister wrote that we'd catch up soon. My father said nothing. Silence, again, doing its work. This was not new. When I lost my job years earlier, I heard about it secondhand at a barbecue. When my engagement ended, the announcement went out without my name. I was included when I made things smoother. I was overlooked when attention was scarce. Authority chose convenience over fairness every time. No one meant to hurt me, they would say. Intention was the shield. Impact was mine to carry. I stopped replying that night. I turned off the light and lay on the couch, coat still on, listening to pipes tick and settle. Christmas passed without ceremony, and something in me went quiet with it. I kept the receipt folded in my pocket for days, proof of a meal eaten alone. Work resumed. Emails filled hours. Friends sent generic wishes. I nodded on calls and kept my voice even. The city reopened slowly, lights dimming. At night I washed one mug, one plate, and set them to dry. The routine steadied me. It also showed me how thin belonging had been. I noticed the absence when no one asked where I had been. The next 2 days passed with a strange politeness. Messages arrived that said nothing. A photo of leftovers. A comment about weather. My mother asked if I'd driven safely. No one mentioned the call. No one explained the laughter. It settled into the family record as an awkward moment best ignored. This had happened before, in smaller ways. Invitations forwarded late. Start times shifted without notice. Decisions made and then presented as facts. I had learned to read between lines and adjust. I arrived early. I brought extra food. I made myself useful so my presence felt earned. When I was a teenager, my parents praised independence. They liked that I didn't ask for rides. That I handled problems quietly. It made things easier. As we got older, the praise hardened into expectation. My sister needed help. I needed understanding. Those words meant different things in practice. I remembered a Thanksgiving years back when the guest list changed after I'd bought groceries. My mother thanked me for being flexible. I cooked anyway. I stayed late to clean. I drove home alone. It was framed as adulthood. On Christmas afternoon, my sister posted a group photo. Everyone leaned in, faces flushed. The caption said grateful. Comments filled quickly. I clicked through and closed the app. I didn't want to be angry at people who hadn't noticed I was missing. I wanted to understand how absence became acceptable. The answer was repetition. Each time I smoothed a situation, it trained the room. Each time I accepted less, it recalibrated expectations. By the time Christmas came, my place had been defined without discussion. Optional. Flexible. Late. On the third day, my father texted. He asked why I was being so dramatic. No greeting. No question about my day. The word landed heavier than the laughter had. Dramatic implied intent. It suggested I had staged my own exclusion. I stared at the message for a long time. I typed and erased. I considered explaining. I considered screenshots and dates and receipts. I put the phone down instead. I saw how often I had tried to translate my hurt into terms they would accept. It never worked. That was when the pattern finished revealing itself. This was not a misunderstanding. It was a structure that functioned smoothly as long as I absorbed the cost. I stopped replying. Not to punish. To stop participating in a story that required my silence to continue. The boundary crossing happened the following weekend, at a gathering I wasn't invited to but heard about anyway. A cousin mentioned it casually on a call, assuming I'd been there. When I said I hadn't, she paused, then filled the space with excuses that weren't hers to make. I thanked her and changed the subject. That night, my mother sent a calendar invite for a family dinner the next month. No note. No acknowledgement. Just a date and time, as if nothing had happened. As if presents could be scheduled without repair. That was the line. I understood then that my absence had been noticed only as an inconvenience. Not as a harm. They wanted the rhythm restored, not the relationship addressed. Showing up again would confirm that laughter and silence had been acceptable. I couldn't do that anymore. I declined the invite. I didn't add a message. The app sent a neutral notification. It felt appropriate. My father called the next day. He spoke about effort and forgiveness and moving on. He said families tease. He said I took things too personally. He said we were all adults. I listened until he ran out of points. When he asked if I'd come, I said no. Just that. After the call, I noticed my hands were steady. The urge to justify had passed. I didn't need them to agree with me to be done. I reviewed my finances. I canceled shared plans. I stopped sending reminders. I let group chats mute themselves. The distance wasn't dramatic. It was administrative. Quiet choices made in daylight. I went back to the diner once, not on a holiday. I ordered the same soup. It tasted ordinary. I sat by the window and watched people come and go. The place didn't carry the memory anymore. That told me enough. Begging had ended. So had explaining. What remained was a small, firm space where my life could continue without being negotiated. Consequences arrived slowly and without spectacle. My parents stopped sending casual updates. The group chat went quiet, then archived itself. My sister asked once if I was okay, then didn't wait for an answer. The story adjusted around me. I was busy. I was sensitive. I was unavailable. Work filled the space. I took extra shifts. I saved. I built routines that didn't hinge on invitations. Sundays became grocery lists and laundry, not anticipation. When holidays came up again, I made plans early and told friends yes. I learned how relief feels when a calendar holds. My father sent one more message about family being everything. I read it and put the phone down. I didn't argue. I didn't ask for acknowledgement. I let the silence do what explanations never had. It clarified. Months later, I ran into my mother at a pharmacy. We spoke politely about weather and coupons. She said I looked well. I thanked her. We did not discuss Christmas. The moment passed without weight. That told me the distance was working. I kept my life small and true. I hosted dinners where laughter was aimed, not scattered. I chose places that were open and warm. I stopped carrying proof of where I'd been. I trusted my own memory. I am not estranged. I am choosing where to stand. I no longer call to confirm a place at the table. I set one. The quiet is steady. It leaves room to breathe. I move forward with dignity, clarity, and a peace that doesn't depend on being remembered. I keep receipts in drawers, not pockets. I answer messages selectively. I celebrate quietly. When laughter happens now, it reaches me. If a table forgets me, I build another. The future feels ordinary, stable, mine, and I welcome it fully.